Amber Duke, how big of a deal is it that she's going to be off the scene?
Well, if I were a Democrat, I would be really, really terrified right now because she has managed to keep that party, that caucus in line for the past however many decades, a lot of decades, so many decades. But I mean, Hakeem Jeffries, right? He's the Speaker of the House, but realistically, is he the one controlling the show, like running the ship? No, of course not. It was still Nancy Pelosi behind the scenes. She was the reason why all of these squad members got into Congress and then immediately just voted 100% with the Democrats for their entire first term. So her leaving puts the Democrats' leadership crisis into even greater perspective, because not only do they not have some big national figure like Trump who's able to get them excited about 2028, kind of steer the direction of the party, but they don't even have anybody in Congress right now. Everybody hates Chuck Schumer. Hakeem Jeffries is totally feckless. I just don't know what they're going to do without her.
All right, guys, good Thursday to you. We have so much to break down. I get panel giddy. It's a new phrase. I'm going to throw that out there. It's like 6'7". I'm panel giddy because we've got a lot to discuss today, and I've got a lot to break down with our amazing panel. We're on day 37 of the shutdown. A lot of recriminations when it comes to whose fault the election disaster was and where we go from here. That's the key question, in my opinion. Thanks for everyone who tuned in last night. Great conversation about that with Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen. Some people said they weren't excited about what he had to say. I get it. Sometimes you don't want to hear the truth. I mean, and not the truth, but like a different perspective. And I think we're going to hear a little more today because we got to come to grips. We got a big midterm coming up, and it means a lot. A huge warning about air traffic control. They're starting to take down 10% of all air traffic control out of 40 major airports starting later this week. And that's a big deal as we head into travel. So I'm going to break that down all with the panel. This week, we continue a great series of discussions tomorrow. Victor Davis Hanson. Now, you guys know this guy doesn't disappoint. And I learn something every time about history and where we're going and the lessons we should learn. But amazing. And obviously, thanks again to everybody who keeps sharing the show and subscribing, joining us at 6 o'clock for the premiere. I love telling people, have a backup. If you're a video person, go to the audio versions, Apple and Spotify, subscribe there. It helps us, and it gives you a backup if you're ever on the go. And same thing, if you're an audio person, I love you. But do me a favor, come over to YouTube and Rumble and just hit the subscribe button. Don't cost you anything. It's tariff-free, my friends. It's not even, you don't need a Black Friday sale. Just subscribe. It's all free. Before we get in, though, I got to tell you, where's my other big favorite snack these days? Vandy chips. If you haven't tried Vandy chips, are you missing out? You guys know these. These are just like the masa chips. Same team, by the way. No of that ultra-processed seed oil. These are real tallow chips. I have now become a chip snob. I'm literally like, between my masa chips and my Vandy potato chips, these things are unbelievable. They taste so much better and they're healthier. They only have 3 ingredients: heirloom potatoes, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. When you eat them, you don't feel bloated like you normally do with a potato chip because there's no ultra-processed seed oils and everything. You feel satisfied, energized. I literally, if you're going to snack between my masa chips and my Vandy crisps, you can't get a better deal. I love these things. And I'm telling you, and they come in some amazing flavors. That's the cool thing. Whether you're going with original or barbecue or what have you. If you're ready to give Vandy Crisps a try, go to Vandy Crisps, right? So this is like the Irish. If you ever have a chip in Ireland, they go, would you like a crisp? This is what I'm talking about. VandyCrisp.com/Sean. Use code Sean for 25% off. Just like I do with the masa chips. I'm going to recommend you guys start with the variety pack. So good. So good. I do like the original. I'm not going to lie, but you're going to want this because you get 25% off your first order. Go to VandyCrisp.com. Vandy, V-A-D-Y, Crisp, CRISPS.com. Use code Sean for that. All right, guys, once you finish your day and you're all ready to tuck into bed, it's fall. It's getting a little chilly. You know what I like to do? Crawl into some bowl and branch sheets. Oh my gosh. It feels like you're staying at that really nice hotel that you did once in your life, but you close your eyes and you go, I'm back there. I am back. These things are absolutely amazing. They're soft. They're comfortable. They're breathable. You've got 100% organic cotton, and they get better with every single wash. They get softer. I'm not telling you, I sleep better. I'm more rested. I love these things because it makes me feel like I'm very rich. I crawl in. I'm like, am I staying at the Ritz-Carlton or is this my bedroom? It's only my bedroom, but it makes me feel better because the blankets, the pillows, the duvets, amazing. Trust me, once you try a Boll & Branch sheet, and they've got an amazing guarantee. If you don't like them, they'll give you your money back after I think it's like 30 days, but you won't need it. Trust me, I literally keep ordering more. And hint, hint, you may be getting some of these if you are one of my family members for Christmas, because that's how cool they are. So no spoiler alert there. Give yourself and your loved ones one of the best night's sleep with 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. Go to Boll & Branch. This is the key. You have to use this URL, bollandbranch.com/Spicer. That's how you have to do it. bollandbranch.com/Spicer and use code Spicer. You get 20% off. Some exclusions apply. All right, let me bring in our amazing panel today. Our good friend, Kay Smythe. She's a political commentator. You should follow her on social media. Our Indianapolis, full Indiana correspondent out there, Tony Katz, the man with the cigar, keeping it classy in Indianapolis, Tony Katz. And our good friend from the Daily Caller, Amber Duke. She's the senior editor over there, breaking stories, editing other people's work, getting it straight, keeping us informed of the stories that we never see anywhere else. Amber Duke, good to see you guys. All right, guys, big news. What a great way to start the day. I thought, you know what? We'll talk about the election. I was still a little down, and then I find out Nancy Pelosi's not running. Let me just say this. I wonder, is it a good thing, a bad thing? Meaning she's out of the way, but I kind of liked having the boogie lady there. You know, it's not the boogeyman. Her pronouns are she, they. So Amber Duke, how big of a deal is it that she's going to be off the scene?
Well, if I were a Democrat, I would be really, really terrified right now because she has managed to keep that party, that caucus in line for the past however many decades, a lot of decades, so many decades. But I mean, Hakeem Jeffries, right? He's the Speaker of the House, but realistically, is he the one controlling the show, like running the ship? No, of course not. It was still Nancy Pelosi behind the scenes. She was the reason why all of these squad members got into Congress and then immediately just voted 100% with the Democrats for their entire first term. So her leaving puts the Democrats' leadership crisis into even greater perspective, because not only do they not have some big national figure like Trump who's able to get them excited about 2028, kind of steer the direction of the party, but they don't even have anybody in Congress right now. Everybody hates Chuck Schumer. Hakeem Jeffries is totally feckless. I just don't know what they're going to do without her.
Tony Katz, that's my thing. Amber's right. I mean, she literally was the puppet master. Hakeem Jeffries was speaker in name only. She calls all the shots. She raises all the money. I do think that they're going to go into the wilderness a little.
Yeah, the raises all the money is the big one. And I'm just glad she was able to stick around in Congress long enough to finally fully fund her retirement. Congratulations, man, on all those fantastic stock picks. The raising of the money is the big one. You know, Amber's right about who really had the power and who kept Democrats in line and the level of iron fist that was utilized. Remember, you couldn't engage amendments under Nancy Pelosi. You couldn't engage any level of change in the House under Nancy Pelosi, even if you were a Democrat. When Nancy Pelosi was the one who was deciding who got money to run in which spot to be able to obtain a level of victory. That fundraising was a huge part of it. There has been nothing that proves that Hakeem Jeffries has any fundraising capability whatsoever. And there's no saying that now that they will move further into the progressive camp, which I would already argue that they fully are, that the progressive camp gets the same level of funding that Democrats would get. So I think you're right about the wilderness, but I think maybe a larger conversation is if you're in the wild, the person who can engage and take enough scalps is the person who leads. So what are we actually going to be seeing if there is no leader?
Kay, I mean, to Tony's point, and both Tony and Amber, to that matter, back when I was a staffer, like you would hear stories that literally there's a cloakroom for each side, you know, that they go in, they find out what they're voting on or whatever. She literally, down to the interns, would make a decision who got to be an intern in the cloakrooms. And like she ruled not with like literally when we talk about an iron fist, she controlled everything, every aspect of what happened. As Tony pointed out, who got money, to Amber's point. I mean, like she literally, nothing happened in the House of Representatives without Nancy Pelosi giving her explicit blessing or saying it won't happen. And if you're Hakeem Jeffries, she's been your shield, right? He can say all sorts of stupid crap, and I'm going to play you one of the stupid things that he said in just a little bit. But the thing that's, and I'm being serious, like Amber's right. He's now like the emperor has no clothes, because he was really like speaker with the office, but she was like, listen, I'm really still in charge.
Yeah, I don't think anyone took Hakeem Jeffries. Like, he's such a cringe dork that he was never going to be able to raise money, absolutely, but he was never actually going to have that sort of pop culture kind of cult following that really defines the Democrats. Like, they're not politicians, they're all these like sad wannabe celebrities. Sort of like running joke that all Democrats for the last, like, I don't know, since pretty much like the Clinton administration, they've all been sourced from like failing acting schools in New York and Los Angeles. Like, they were never going to be good enough to be like even in commercials. So we'll just put them in politics because they'll at least do what they're told, which, you know, if they're being told these things by Nancy Pelosi, I don't think cognitively she's there enough to lead the party. If she was, let's be honest, she'd be running again. But I think she's also spent a lot of her career grooming people to come up underneath her. I just think it's really funny that she doesn't really have anyone to replace her who's likable on that sort of like national level. My concern is that they're stupid enough to think that Gavin Newsom is going to be the guy to step in and fill those shoes. They look down so much on the American public that they think that a guy with, you know, that kind of like slick back hair who sits like a girl in podcasts, who lies compulsively and just has like big teeth, like they think that that guy is going to be enough to replace her in this sort of like, almost like, I mean, I can't compare her to any kind of god. She's sort of like this like demigod to Democrat voters. So I really don't know what's going to happen next. My fear is that they're going to put someone in like a Mamdani character who's just going to come out of a left field that none of us have ever seen or heard of before. He's going to be she is going to be some kind of like deep state, trained since birth type thing, demon child to come up and sort of perpetuate the societal decline that's been defined in every single Democrat stronghold in the country. That's my big fear. Because that's kind of what happens in a vacuum. You get the worst people trying to steal power. So I hope they just continue being headless chickens, which I think is honestly a disrespectful thing to say to chickens. But I really do hope that they just go fully down that road and sort of like self-cannibalize. But in the back of my head, the sort of like apocalypse, cataclysm, obsessed, scary part of my brain is like, oh my gosh, who are they going to bring in that we just don't see coming? Because it's all happening so under the table, like, you know, everything else that Nancy Pelosi has done. Like you said.
Doesn't this really depend on where the donor class goes? And if we're going to talk donor class, question number one is, who is Alex Soros putting himself behind? How many more photos from the penthouse have we seen of Alex Soros and whoever is bending the knee to him? Because I guess that's the terminology we use now. Where's his check going? Amber, you might have insight on that. Like, is it going to a Hakeem Jeffries because they want to hold some kind of Democratic standard? Is it going to an Ocasio-Cortez because he wants to be able to control a future senator? Wouldn't he be like the bellwether of where that party goes and who they have in power, and that therefore determines what kind of party they are to begin with?
That's such a good point.
Yeah, it is a good point. I don't know where he's at yet ideologically. I think right now he's kind of throwing money around to everybody so that he's leaving his options open for who he wants to be the Democrat puppet master.
I agree with that. Right?
Yeah.
We know where he is ideologically. We're not sure where he is politically.
Exactly.
I think, Amber, I think this is a Daily Color special that Tony Katz just gave you, because I agree. He's spreading his money around, but at some point he's going to pick and say, yes, here's who's going to control the ship. Right? Here's who's going to steer it. I think this is a brilliant suggestion, Tony Katz, because they need somebody like there was a partnership with Pelosi, and she got it, which is, you get this, you give me money, you get this. And I agree with you, Tony. I think this is where someone like Alex Soros, who's the heir to the George Soros money, just married Huma Abedin, by the way. Talk about a weird woohoo. But I think that's important. But let me flip this coin real quick. When I was at the RNC, and I'll put them online today just to remind everyone, but we raised so much money off Nancy Pelosi. We'd be like, she's controlling this. This is the San Francisco liberal agenda. And I think Kay touched on this, but I think that we need a new face. And I think that new face, by the way, it couldn't have happened at a better time, is Mamdani, which is, okay, guys, Pelosi, liberal San Francisco Nancy Pelosi left, but Mamdani's here to take her place.
I could see that. My fear is that, okay, so the Soros money, when you actually follow it and track it, he doesn't care. Like, he does care, I guess, about sort of like the Senate. He does care about Congress. But his dad was so instrumental at destabilizing America on the local level. Like, that's really the sort of Soros party trick. Like, they're not pro-America. They're not pro-Americans. They're pro the sort of like new world order that needs America to fail in order for every country in the world to gradually collapse. Like, we are the last bastion of freedom and of self-control. And so I think that if he really wanted to, he could go so granular that he could just start installing even more sort of Mamdani characters on that local level, ignore Congress to sort of like chaos itself, and then just destroy us all where we live. And it's so weird. I was just thinking about that before we came on today, because I saw yet another photograph of him being like, oh, pally with Mamdani. And I'm just like, so many people are going to die because of this. Like, people are legitimately going to die. We saw the bodies piling up on the streets in California when I lived there. And that's all because of Soros-funded politicians and prosecutors and those scummy little people that control stuff on like the local level down to like city council level. And so that's kind of my concern. Like, maybe he's not looking bigger. Maybe he's just like, yeah, I'll just throw money, whoever the American public choose to be the next poster child, whether it's like a Newsom, a Mamdani, whoever, like, let them decide. But let's go super local and destroy this country where people actually live, not just in DC. I don't know. That's kind of, is that too dystopian? Am I bringing the vibe down, guys, with this? Is that too dark?
Who wants to take the vibe conversation?
All right, well, let me twist it though. A lot of recriminations about the election. I've been very clear. I think the consultant class let everybody down. I tweeted that out Tuesday night. The consultants who ran these races, especially in Virginia, where I am, deserve to be named and shamed. I mean, this was there wasn't a. Like, they missed the get out the vote effort was horrible. The ads were off target. The message was messy at best. But James Blair, the deputy White House chief of staff who handles all things politics and was the political director on the campaign, sat down for an interview with Dasha Burns of Politico. And I want to play you what he said, because I want to play it, and then I'll give you my take at the end, because I think this is so revealing, and it plays off the episode that we had yesterday about what we on the right missed and what was uncovered. So take a look at this.
75% of Mickey Sherrill's ads were positive, overwhelmingly talking about cost of living and heavily talking about lowering power costs. Jack didn't really talk about that. He talked about taxes and he won the tax vote, but he didn't address those key issues of affordability very effectively. He was mostly talking generically about Change New Jersey. And I'm not denigrating Jack, but it was not in line necessarily with what voters were saying. Two, in Virginia, over half of Winsome Sears ads talked about transgender, and it's not even the top 5 issues, according to voters. Why did Zohran Mamdani do so well last night? He relentlessly focused on affordability. People can talk about communists, they can say all these things, but the fact is, he was talking about the cost of living.
Folks that I'm talking to privately who are supporters of President Trump think that he needs to be talking about cost of living a whole lot more. Are we going to see that pivot?
I think you'll see the president talk a lot about cost of living as we turn the year and into the new year. The president is very keyed into what's going on, and he recognizes, like anybody, that it takes time to do an economic turnaround, but all the fundamentals are there. And I think you'll see him be very, very focused on prices and cost of living.
Okay, Tony Katz, you're out there in Indianapolis. You're outside the bubble, the Beltway. I couldn't agree more. Like, we missed the boat on this. I mean, the idea that Winsome talking about transgender, it's an 80-20 issue. But did people in Virginia vote on that, or did they vote on affordability and what's happening? And yet no one talked about it. They spent a boatload on polling, a boatload on consultants, a boatload on ads, and not one of the damn people on the Republican side said a damn thing about affordability. And I'm like,
DeSantis spent $200 million not to get first place anywhere. The consultants got rich and they'll get hired again. If we want to have an argument about the consultant class and what the hell Republicans are doing, I'm more than happy to have that conversation. But it's going to start from there, and then it's going to get to these people in Virginia and New Jersey. Just if we want to do it, I'm willing to go all the way with it and set people ablaze in this conversation. But we should be at least at the start not insane. This is an off-year election in blue states. There was built-in advantages for the Democrats that were running. As for us missing messaging, I will take this and not put it on the consultant class. I'll put this on the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who wants to keep telling people that everything is going great. It isn't. It's not true. It's not real. And thank goodness I heard President Trump finally address this yesterday, a subject, at least on radio, we've been addressing for months. Beef prices are out of control. Egg prices are down. Gas prices are down, but you still feel like everything costs too much. Tariffs do increase the cost of things. And the president may love the word tariff, the most beautiful word in the world. It still costs us more, and we feel that it costs us more. So the reality is you have to be addressing those concerns and explaining why you're engaged in tariffs, why these things are happening. That's the stuff that matters. You can't just say everything's fine. That's Janet Yellen saying that inflation's nothing more than transitory, which was crap. It was a lie. It was a fraud. And when you go down that road, you win the stupid prizes. Yes, these things do matter. Yes, these things need to be addressed. The problem is the left is going to overplay their hand, and they're going to turn affordability into, that's why billionaires and millionaires have to pay more taxes, and that's why you need rent control, and that's why you need a government-run supermarket. Government can't plow the streets, yet they're going to run a supermarket, and that's where you have to be able to make those pivots. You can't just think that they've got the winning message. They will destroy their own message because history shows that's what they do.
So, Amber Duke, you cover this stuff. Your reporters are out there all the time. Here's where I'll riff off of what Tony's saying a little. I think the difference in the Biden administration was the costs were higher. Eggs were out of control. Gas was whatever. I drove to the top of my street yesterday. Gas, $2.79 a gallon. Let me just give you a quick. Eggs are down 23.7%. Gasoline's down 2.6 to 12%. Used cars and trucks down 3 to 5%. Car insurance down 4 to 6%. Bread is down 3.6% from last year. Milk down $1.45%. Fresh fruits are down. Now, yes, things are bigger. But the bottom line is Trump actually has some data to back up what he's saying. And here's another example. And this is what I think the bigger problem is, right? Tony's got a point, but here's the point. Today in the White House, they announced another attempt to take the price of major drug prices down. That is one of the number one issues that families deal with, the price of healthcare and prescription drugs. And my point to the White House is you guys make the announcement and then the next day you moved on, right? How do people know it? What are you doing? Why are you not having Bobby Kennedy, Dr. McCary, Dr. Bhattacharya, who am I missing?
Dr. Oz.
Dr. Oz. Everyone full speed ahead. And members of Congress, go talk about the fact. Whether you like or dislike GLP-1s, I don't care. What I will tell you is millions of Americans are on them, and they just brought the price of them down for millions and millions of America by a significant amount. Like if you're on a GLP-1 right now and your insurance isn't covering it, it's probably between $1,000 and $1,500. They're now saying it's going to be $150. Go sell it. Think about that. That drug alone, Amber Duke, never mind your eggs, never mind your bread, never mind your gas, everything. They're just expecting people to come to the conclusion. The Biden administration was saying, don't believe your lying eyes. It's, you know what? It's not a big deal. It's Tony, it's transitory. The Trump administration has a case to make. Go make the case.
No, I completely agree. I was going through a lot of those numbers last week because my co-host on Rising was talking about how terrible the economy was. And I was like, well, the numbers don't really show that. And a lot of what people are feeling is the 25% price increase that happened over the past 4 years. And so even though inflation is cooling, obviously prices are still way higher than they were prior to Biden taking office. And so that pain is still felt. And I think the message for the White House and for Republicans has to be that things are moving in the right direction, but we're not finished, right? Like this game is not over. We're not resting on our laurels. We understand that families are still feeling squeezed, and we are working every single day to make real changes that are going to make your economic life better. And also living in Virginia, Sean, I mean, obviously the shutdown the government furloughs, the layoffs, as well as the fact that Virginia historically always votes for the governor that is the opposite party of the president, kind of had us cooked from the jump. But man, Winsome Sears ran a really crappy campaign. Every single ad I got was about that transgender issue, which, as much as I care about and is a really big motivator for people who are already planning on voting for the Republican Party, the top issues that were good for Republicans potentially were economy and cost of living, and then also immigration. And immigration voters broke for Winsome Sears by 80%, but she wasn't also talking about immigration much on the campaign trail. So if she had gone out and said, look, if you just got a $200 or $400 tax rebate from Governor Youngkin, it's because our administration for every single year for the past 4 years has delivered a balanced budget, and we are putting real dollars back in your pocket because we are not allowing these Democrats to engage in out-of-control spending that makes things more expensive for you and your families. Why wasn't Winsome Sears talking about energy prices and data centers? And if she was going to talk about immigration as a top 4 issue, why wasn't she talking about the fact that Abigail Spanberger doesn't want the police to cooperate with ICE in Virginia? Like, all of these things are tangible. They are top issues, and I didn't hear a single one of those things as someone who should have been aggressively micro-targeted by the Winsome Sears campaign. And just from a journalistic perspective too, as someone who was covering the race pretty aggressively, I couldn't even tell you who like 80% of her team was, and they were not engaging with us. Like, we had to reach out to them.
Me
to
too.
ask them questions, right? Like,
yes.
What were they doing? Why were they not all over the Daily Caller, the Sean Spicer show, doing local radio? Like, they were nowhere to be found. I don't even know if she had a team because it was so haphazard and just like coasting through the finish line and saying, well, because Spanberger doesn't want or wants boys and girls sports, then we've got this thing locked up. It was just insanity.
Kay, I don't want you to be doom and gloom, but you're the one who talked about vibes. We had a lot of problems, okay? The ground game, everything. And we all know Scott Pressler. He's out there knocking on doors. He's got a team. He had a very ominous video that he put out, and I want to play it for you because of all people, you'll fit the vibe on this one. Let's play what Scott had to say.
Oh no.
Hey everybody, this is Scott Pressler. I'm not here to bring you a happy video. I'm here to give you a dose of reality. It's August 29th. I want you to bookmark this. You timestamp this right now. It's after 2 a.m. and I'm out walking my 6 miles as I do every single day. And I'm here to tell you, Republicans are going to lose everything this November unless we change things, and quickly. You're going to lose the governorship in Virginia, and you're going to have a Democrat. You're going to lose the governorship in New Jersey, and you're going to have Mikey Sherrill, Murphy 2.0. And in Pennsylvania, where we have been working tirelessly, nonstop, even since the election, we're on the verge of having 3 Democrat Supreme Court justices retained until 2035. Republicans, I hate to say it, and I love ya, but I'm going to be honest. You are absolutely clueless. And it's not just the leadership at the top, but I have to say to our voters, if you are only planning to vote on Election Day on Tuesday, November 4th, consider the election's gone.
Okay. Okay, that's August. Scott Pressler's out there saying, giving the warning. It doesn't sound like anybody heeded it.
No, I don't think anybody heeded it. I think that there is, in the same way that there's sort of like ego on the Democrat side that comes from, you know, this yearning to be famous, we see the same kind of ego on the Republican side with that like expectation of power. I think that 2024 made people way too confident. I think that election was just such a shoo-in because we'd had, 4 years of just absolute chaos, nightmares. That's when we saw, the inflation, that, surge in pricing. Again, don't really understand why Republicans aren't out there saying and reminding people that the reason that the cost of living is so high is because of the Democrats, because of that prior administration, because of the people who are still like Kamala Harris going around like floating the idea of running again. I pray she does, just because that would be great for us, because people would rage vote against her, which again is one of the things I love about the American public. But I think that there could be a certain degree of chess happening here. So I'm going to like check my own vibe. I'm going to hope that a lot of people around the country who are engaged, whether it's like on Twitter or any kind of like social media, I do think we need that messaging out. Like, you know, why aren't all of these political leaders, like Amber said, out doing the press? Why is it that in the state I live in right now in North Carolina, I only know who the Democrats are because they are the only people who are going out and spending money, places like social media, places like local media, and actually engaging with people on the local level. Again, that sort of plays in, I guess, a little bit to what I was saying about the Soros approach earlier. But I think there could be a certain degree of chess happening where it's like, can we sacrifice these few blue state elections that, you know, like you said, Virginia always flips. Can we sacrifice those few local elections so that by 2026, we sort of light this fire under people's butts and they go out and actually go and vote for the Republicans and we keep on this trajectory? This isn't, I think it was actually when I was writing for the Daily Caller, I can't remember, so correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a prophecy. I think there was this guy that like accurately predicted that Trump would get shot through the ear. It was the eeriest thing, pun intended, I've ever witnessed. Like he absolutely nailed it. He fully forecast, predicted everything about that attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania. And then he said that we're going to go through a period of financial turmoil. Like we could go through a recession. And so seeing things like, you know, Michael Burry coming back on Twitter and betting against AI, seeing the fact that the messaging is so warped on the economy. We're already in a recession. We have been for a long time. No one wants to admit it. No one wants to talk about it. But I think that the messaging is becoming so strong that we could see this sort of recession messaging rear its head in the run up to 2026. So now is the time that Republicans need to start focusing on all those stats that you just mentioned. The fact that like egg prices are down, the fact that gas prices are down, all of these staples are down. We do need to do something about beef. Like that's just, you know, how it's supposed to be. I don't know if the climate lobby is going to have that happen. I could go off on a whole conspiracy theory about that, but probably don't have time today. So I think that we're in the middle of a battleground. That have we sacrificed those local elections to push people and motivate people to get out for 2026? And is that big thing we're going to be fighting the economy and all of the messaging on the economy? I think that's where we're at. And I don't know, just listening to you guys who are sort of more experts in the field, I've taken a little bit of time off to be extremely pregnant over the last couple of months. But I think that if Republicans aren't engaging on that, then yeah, Scott Presler's nailed it. And it's not just going to be, you know, what we saw on Tuesday, but we're going to repeat that next year. That terrifies me because that sets us off on such a bad foot for 2028. And that's the one that really matters. Like, I don't know. Again,
can I give a counter to the argument here? Is it that we have the wrong messaging, or is it that it's local elections and no one cares?
Ooh.
When you have an election that involves the mayor of New York, there's a great amount of who gives a good holy damn crap what happens in New York. Screw those people with their pants on. They don't mean absolutely anything to us. These ridiculous elitist snobs. And by the way, why in the world are Fox News and Newsmax still headquartered in New York? What are you doing? Waiting to die? Get yourselves to Florida, get to Texas, come to Indiana. Dear Lord, what is the point of being on the Avenue of the Americas? It's 6th Avenue, by the way. It makes no sense. Stop doing this to yourselves and stop doing this to others. So how much of this involves the idea that, oh, great, it's a New York election. Like I'm supposed to care about New York. The Midwest doesn't care. The argument is that what happens there gives a rise, a feel of credibility, of confidence, of capability to others. And yes, that happens in the Midwest. And like, well, I can do that too. And they look at Mamdani and say, why not? Nobody knows outside of Virginia that Winsome Sears ran a terrible campaign. And certainly nobody knows that whether Jack Ciattarelli was hitting these affordability topics in New Jersey. They don't. They're like, okay, that's what New Jersey did. That has nothing to do with me.
That's
How does
so
the Republican
fair.
Party then bring that into play? And these things do matter to you, and here's why.
Yeah,
I
I
will
didn't even know
also
who that
say-
Jack guy was. I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm online every single day. And I was like, New Jersey had something going on? Okay, whatever. That's so true, Tony. That's kind of terrifying.
I'll talk that up to the very pregnant. I'll put that up.
I mean, the other side of this in terms of people not caring is that Trump made a new Republican coalition of low and mid prop voters, right? It takes a lot of money and a lot of resources to get those people out. But if you can do it effectively, it's a really great campaign strategy. It's actually exactly what Mamdani did in New York. He got people who had never voted before. He got low prop voters. That was his coalition. And the Democratic establishment didn't know how to stop it. The problem that the Republican Party has had since Trump was elected in 2016 was how do we motivate those Trump people who don't usually vote in elections to come out during an off-year election or a midterm. Right. And nobody seems to have an answer for how to do that. I mean, a lot of it is that Republicans just don't have as much money as Democrats. That's really always been the case in modern politics. And are we willing to spend that amount of money in off years and midterms, right?
That's the bigger issue. The president's team has $300 million at their disposal. Yeah. $300 million. They could have this isn't it, but the president did blame the shutdown. And I think you saw yesterday, Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy saying, starting at the beginning of next week, we're taking down 10% of all flights at every major airport, 40 major airports. So Tony, I want to just ask you this. There's a lot out there. We're at day 30. What is it? I think we're at 37. I'll just look at my script here. I think we're at 37. It's now the longest by 2 days. How does this end, right? Because I have a feeling that there's this flight thing is going to be chaos. You're now entering a holiday period where people want to travel. You suddenly go to the airport, hey, your flight's canceled. It's not as simple as get the next one because it's going to have a ripple effect. People are going to be lined up, sleeping in airports. I think this thing gets really chaotic really quick. I just, when you're out there in Indianapolis, do people are like, I think this has gone from, I didn't even know the government shut down to the case point about not knowing it was running in New Jersey to suddenly everyone's going to care.
I think that people care when Meemaw can't make it for Thanksgiving. I
She's
think
not coming?
Oh, no. Well, I'll get into a conversation about my mother flying up here and how I have to now rethink things. Just really quick to Amber's point, because there's a story here that I think is very true. When she talks about low prop voters, everyone knows she's talking about low propensity voters, right? That's what she means by low prop. And it's true. Trump pulled out low propensity voters. It's why in the swing states, Trump won the swing states, but the Senate candidates lost. Sam Brown lost in Nevada. Kari Lake lost in Nevada. You lost in Michigan. You lost in Wisconsin. It's because these people came out, voted for Trump, and went home. And so there's a real interesting conversation there about how you make that change and the difference between the Trump brand and the Republican brand. But this whole story about how Schumer thinks and Hakeem Jeffries think, hey, we had these big wins. Let's keep the shutdown going and make the Republicans bend and beg so we can get our Obamacare subsidies. This, I think, is the example of the left overplaying their hand. I think it was Byron York, and if I'm wrong, I apologize in attributing it to him. You should take the daily briefing that Speaker Mike Johnson has been giving, which I think have been very, very good up until recently. Take that out of his hands about the shutdown and put it right into the White House. The reason Grandma, the reason Diane, Tony's mother, isn't going to be able to get to Indianapolis for Thanksgiving is because these Democrats aren't funding air traffic controllers and they're hoping for plane crashes and people falling out of the sky and dying. The reason kids are going hungry is because these Democrats want to see children die and they won't come to the table. You have to pull out the whole Paul Ryan pushing grandma off the cliff story, and you have to have Trump doing it from the Oval. Now, again, if it wasn't Byron York, my apologies, but I'll give him the credit if I believe it is his. This is true. If the Democrats think that the answer is keep it shut down so we can't have Thanksgiving, that dog won't hunt. The Midwest is not putting up with that for a second.
Yeah, you totally stole my vibe there, Tony, with pushing grandma off the cliff. Like that is, that is so
That's your
true.
vibe? Your
No,
vibe?
that's
the
not.
vibe?
But like,
Yeah.
I'm just like nice
Kind of a
little
problem.
callback. But okay, so maybe you guys can just correct me on this because I live in the middle of nowhere. Like I literally can't see another property from my property at this point. So I've been on an O1 visa here for the last 10 years. I got married last year. Trump canceled the COVID vaccine requirement for green cards. So I was like, oh, I'll go for my green card. That was approved on Tuesday. I went into a government immigration building. Everyone was working. There were no issues. And that got approved. There's no trash piling up on the side of the road in either of the towns between where I live. Most of the people in those towns, most of our friends, didn't even know there was a government shutdown. Is this like more of a metropolitan issue than it is sort of like on the local level? Like, is it being talked about more in the cities? Because, yeah, where I'm at in North Carolina, we sort of like know about it because like people have talked about it on the news, but we're not actually feeling it yet. So how does that kind of like, how does that like grandma not being able to come visit for Christmas?
That's going to be new. That's why I'm saying,
Yeah.
I think that's why this dynamic, I'm with you, Kay. I know it. I live 4 miles from DC, so I know that it's closed, but I'm with you. I don't see it. Amber, do you guys have any sense of like how people are feeling on this? Because I'm with Kay on this. I'm close to it and I still don't feel it. But that's why I'm saying this is about to change really quick.
Yeah.
Because whether you live in North Carolina, North Dakota, or North Arlington, Virginia, you're about to see things change.
Yeah, I think this is going to really, really shake up the apple cart. But I will say, being in Fairfax and playing a lot of tennis, one of the main things that my tennis partners have been complaining about since Trump took office was delaying their retirement because they're federal workers, being furloughed, or their husband being furloughed, or their government contract gets canceled. Like that is all they're talking about. And so at like the post tennis lunch, I'm just sort of awkwardly sitting there like, I'm glad that you got furloughed, but like actually not, I'm never going to say that out loud. Right. But it's true. Like in Northern Virginia. I
never say that to my tennis partners. I know Tony Katz brings that up with his tennis partners.
No, I'm just like, oh, that sucks that you like can't go to Spain until next summer. Bummer, right? It's actually insane. I love them to death, but oh my gosh, they can be so out of touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we all learn how to throw Amber shade with that kind of lean back?
If you're listening to the audio, if you're listening to the audio, Amber literally gave herself shade. All right, there were so many contestants this week for winners and losers. I'm excited to hear yours. Tony, go first. Lead us. Give us who your winner and your loser were.
All right, it's going to be weird considering I live in Indianapolis. I'm a Colts guy. But the winners may very well be the New York Jets with some of the craziest trades at the trade deadline I've ever seen. 2 first-round picks from the Colts for Sauce Gardner. We're happy to have him, but that's a lot.
I think this is like Amber said. Like, I didn't even know the Jets were still a team. So,
that's true.
All right, who's your loser? Wait, is that a winner or a loser? I don't know. Did you win?
No, I think the Jets have set themselves up for a great opportunity to disappoint the fans in the future.
I know, but are they your winner or loser? Because
that is my winner. The Jets.
So who's your loser?
My winner. Loser is a great question because you can argue it was the Republicans because of what just took place in these elections. But I'm not sure if that is the case. I'm hoping that the losers are all the influencers on social media who think they have the answer, as opposed to those people who are getting back out there and actually campaigning for candidates.
All right. Kay Smythe, give me your winner and loser rather quickly, because
so I think losers of the week, my big one is like just everyone in New York who voted for Mamdani. Having lived in California and seen what happens on that local level when you go with the Soros pick. Yeah, I don't want to bring it down like too much in the vibe, but I'm terrified for what's going to happen next in New York. I think you're right, Tony. I think all of those news people, all the big Wall Street people, let's just change. It's full revolution. Everyone in Florida. here for it.
DeSantis should do that, by the way, Tony. Is not just say, hey, cops, come down here. He should literally say, I've got a new area where all of the Wall Street could go. Here's where all the media could go, right? I like that.
Indiana's got it. Come on over. We're happy to have you. Just leave the
Indianapolis, too. All right. Kay, who's your loser? I mean, a winner.
Sorry, my winner. So my winner, actually, I'm going to get really cute with it. I think everyone who listened to the show today, because if the big issue here is education and educating voters on what's actually going on in the world, I know that I was educated after listening to you guys today. So every single person who listened, you have a responsibility to go out and vote next year for the Republicans, because now you know the truth. You can't ignore it. So you have to follow it. Thank you. You're welcome.
Wow. Thank you for that. Amber Duke, give me, let's lead with your loser.
Okay, the loser is me, because I'm probably my husband's going to force me to move to West Virginia.
What?
I don't know how serious he is yet, so I'm kind of like, I'm waiting a few days to see if he's being sincere or if he's just like upset about the election results. But, you know, as like a big gun-owning family, although they all, you know, got lost in a tragic boating accident, and who loved my $400 tax refund. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to stay. It's going to be difficult. Gosh, the winner, I guess, is probably Nancy Pelosi, because she gets to now like roll around in a bathtub of all of her fancy pints of ice cream and her ill-gotten stock trades. So she's going to have a very happy retirement.
That was the worst visual I've ever received in my life, is Nancy Pelosi in a bathtub. Like, I just become the biggest loser this week.
You know who the biggest loser is? And this is not my, but as Amber spoke, I was like, you know who the biggest loser is? All of us who followed Nancy Pelosi's stock trades to make money. Now we're not going to have the public.
You can just follow Dan Crenshaw. It's fine.
No, but if the part of the reason that we're able to post them is because she has to disclose them. But if she doesn't have to disclose those stock trades anymore, I may have to go back to, like, you know, watching one of those financial channels. This is a huge bummer.
Oh gosh,
I'm going to go off.
Winner is CNBC.
Yeah. The winner is CNBC, because no more stock trades get announced. My loser, though, to draft off what Amber's saying, I think Virginians lost. Not just because of Abigail Spanberger, but because 51% of them, Virginians, just voted for a guy that wants to kill his political opponent and watch the child of that political opponent die in his mom's arms. And they voted by a majority, not a plurality. A majority of Virginia said that's okay. That's bad on them, bad on us. I'm going to take Kay's vibe and bring it up a step. I think my winner of the week is Bruce Blakeman. He's the Nassau County executive right next to New York. So they send a signal. We're voting for Mamdani. And then just like a couple miles away, the Nassau County executive, Bruce Blakeman, gets elected. Very close ally of President Trump. President Trump called him on election night. So that's just to show you that it's not going that far. This Mamdani thing might be confined to the boroughs of New York City. But good on Bruce Blakeman. It made me feel good to know that at least it didn't bleed that far. So thank you guys. And I appreciate Kay's shout out. Everyone should watch the show. Send it to 5 friends tonight. Thank you guys for being here. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, Victor Davis Hanson joins us. We'll have a very deep conversation based on a lot of the topics that we covered today. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to the panel. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the Sean Spicer Show.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.